wanting to be successful and it being successful are two different things. But you have to believe that it can be done. Because it doesn't matter what they think ultimately. Even if they think it can, it doesn't matter. It's what we believe. And if we don't have that belief, it will not happen. But I know everyone in here has that belief. But some things we've got to work on. Some things and so I say that to say, all of this comes back, all the things you've been seeing, they all sound good. But it has to be ingrained in what you're doing. Because if not, we will not be successful. And I keep harping on that. And this may not have been what you thought you were going to be getting today. But we'll get to the instructional things as we go. But there's a mindset that you have to have from day one starting school. And there's some things that you're going to have to look at right now about yourself. And you're going to have to trust in the system. Everybody with me on that? Everybody get that? You have to trust in the system. And you may not fully agree with the system. But you have to trust in the system. Because it's about that believing in something bigger than you. It's a cause greater than any one person in here. And we have to trust the system. If you don't trust the system, you undermine the system. And there will be holes in the waterbed. It's just the way it is. We have to believe one another. The things that we're doing in this building, we can't worry about people running out of here and talking about what's going on in here. That shouldn't be a word. Or bad-mouthing what's happening at Johnson. That should not be a word. We're in this together to get some things done. Last thing, we'll take a break here. Behaviors and mindsets. When things get tough, belief takes over. So what that means is everything is rah-rah right now. Yes, I like that. But it's going to get tough here in just a little bit. It's going to get real tough. And when things get tough, you go back to your old way of doing things. Why? It's safe. It's easy. It's what I know. When things get tough, your belief system takes over. Tony Dungy talks about in his book, when he's a football coach, used to be a football coach, but when he came to Tampa Bay, you know anything about football, Tampa Bay was terrible. It was terrible for a long time. Even their colors were terrible. They just were terrible all the way through. But what Tony had to break was, practice would be great. Even the start of ball games would be great. But once they got into the crunch of the ball game, when things got tough, his players started reverting back to some old habits. So he really had to focus on their belief system. You have to believe in what you're doing. And you have to trust the system. Because it's going to get tough. And when it gets tough, you're going to go back to your old mindset. When I'm trying to break the sleeping habit, the kids sleeping in class, that's going to be tough. I can tell you that now. Because some of you had 5, 6 kids sleeping in class. It's not necessarily your fault because it may have been something where the administrator said, that's nothing we're not going to fight. So when they came in your room, guess what? They didn't say anything to you about the kids sleeping. So a kid has been empowered to think, especially if a kid's been here 4 years or 3 years, when they don't want to learn, they're going to think it's okay to do what? Sleep. And all of a sudden, you got their head down, and you come pat them on the shoulder. What? Got to wake up. All right? Now, they may stay awake for a minute or two. Then their head's going to go back down. All right? And now it gets tough. Mr. Jones said, don't let them sleep. He said we're not going to sleep. You don't care about what Mr. Jones said. So now, all of a sudden, it just got tough. You got a decision to make. The easy thing to do is what? Let them sleep. Man, I tried. I said something to them.
But all the other kids are going to see that.
There you go. And the other kids are going to say, I wasn't going to sleep today, but I see that she a pushover. And she gonna let him sleep, so I don't put my head down. And now all of a sudden when you go to him and tap him, what is he gonna say? Get him up. And then now you're in a catch-22 because he's kind of mean. And I know he's not gonna wake up. Okay, we're going back to sleep. And so now the rest of the time you're hoping, man, I sure hope no one else goes to sleep. When it gets tough, your belief system takes over. If you don't believe you're accountable for that kid, you're gonna let them sleep. But you are accountable. And you gotta trust the system. And even if you don't fully believe that yet, you do have to do what? Trust the system. The system says what? Stay awake. I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Jones, but I have to do what? Trust the system. Let's talk about that for a minute. I'm not saying you're going to have to agree with everything that we agree to do, but you have to trust the system. And it can't be one of those trusted systems that says, wake up, Mr. Jones says you got to stay awake. What's the message I just gave that kid?
You don't agree with it.
That I don't agree with Mr. Jones, I'm just doing it because he said so. Or the dress code, some of you going to get this, do this number. Well, I think you ought to better wear this, but they said you can't. What's the message?
You don't agree.
I don't agree. We're not together. That can't be the message. And it took me a while to get to that point because central office used to tell me stuff to do, and my first response was, well, central office said we got to do it, so we're doing it. They're really going to do it now. Who is central office to them? Yeah. I mean, so they're just people in the sky somewhere. All right? So that has to be a mindset. You have to trust the system. Keystone change instruction at the beginning of class. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have a consistent way that we do the beginning of class across the building. Those of you that have been teaching a while, it's the most important part because that's the time it's just like any good preacher. If he wants to keep that audience, he's got to bring them in from the beginning. If you lose them in the beginning, you lost them all the way through. It's just the way it is. And you're not going to get them back. So the beginning of class is most important. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about that this year. You're going to think, man, that's the dumbest thing ever. No. I'm telling you, when you get the beginning of the class right, the rest of your class flows just like it's supposed to, just how you dreamed it. But it's going to take us a while to get it there. I'm telling you now. It's going to take us a while to get every single kid in the building sitting and ready to go at the start of the building. It's going to take us a while. We know that. But we had to have it resolved in our mind that we are going to win. Right? All right. If we had that resolved in our mind, we'll get it there. It may take us 2 months, 2 years, whatever. We're going to get it there. All right? It's either going to be a wish or reality. We can have a lot of wishes. It's got to be reality. Only when habits are addressed can schools really change. We're going to have to look at the habits we have and address those things. When you try and change behavior, there will be pushback. That's adults too. All right? But guess what? When they push back, what do we have to do? Push harder. We got to push harder. Oh, goodness. You can talk to me, okay? When they push back, we have to do what? We have to push harder. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I'll tell you now, they're going to push and push and push and push and push. And I'm not talking about literally pushing. They may do that too.
They're going to look for any crack in the armor.
There you go. Any chink they can take advantage of, they're going to get it. A school is a giant collection of habits amongst a group of people. We've got to get our habits right. When we get the habits right, we'll get the school right. It's just the way it is.